Throughout the world, poor people do not have access to legal information and advice, and therefore lack access to justice. While the rich buy the services of a lawyer, the poor cannot. The Rights Advice Centers in Mangochi and Dedza provide legal information on those rights that have an immediate impact on people's livelihoods and their well-being. The project was conceived and funded with the understanding that working on human rights is fundamental to addressing poverty and development. The project is a collaboration between the Active Learning Centre UK, Malawi Centre for Research and Education on Rights Malawi Kara, and the British Council Malawi, and is funded by the Scottish Government.
Our project here is called the Rights Advice Centre. This is a project that aims at providing professional legal advice to the vulnerable groups that are in the communities of Mangochi district. Basically, our project provides legal advice and also helps in mediations whenever there is an issue that requires mediation as a way of resolving disputes.
Benton was owed severance pay by the company where he had worked for 5 years.
I went there reminding them about my severance pay. I then came to the center. He, the paralegal, wrote me a letter on the same day and it quoted some section of the law. I said to him, "Is there any kind of money that I have to pay for the service?" And he said, "No, you don't have to pay for anything." I took the letter to the company. They called the head office in Blantyre because in the letter the paralegal said if I didn't get my pay, he would take court action. I got my money. I came back to the center to say, "Thank you so much. I am sorted."
Napiri was in an abusive marriage. Her husband was an alcoholic and very violent. She decided to leave him and go to her father's house. When her husband noticed that some household items were missing, he followed her. Napiri's husband is a policeman and he went to his office, got a gun and fired into the air. She gave him everything from the house.
My brother directed me to this office. They were so sympathetic because of what I've been going through. The paralegal went with me to the victim support unit and the violence did stop. I decided to divorce my husband and the center helped me with a letter to the court. Now my husband wants to take custody of our child. I'm still living with my father because I'm frightened that if I move out, my husband will follow me. The center helped me at a very difficult time. They treated me very nicely.
These are few examples of cases that the two rights advice centers in Dedza and Mangochi receive. The districts were chosen for the pilot project because they were identified as in need of legal services by the Malawi Human Rights Commission. In addition to the services rendered at the main centers, each center runs outreach clinics in the rural surrounding areas. There are now 16 rural outreach clinics. The specific aims of the project are threefold. 1. To ensure that poor people have access to advice and information about their legal rights and the opportunity to seek redress. 2. To use the evidence gathered from the people who use the legal advice centers to feed back to government information on the impact of laws and policies and to make recommendations for improvement. And 3. To create public awareness of human rights and the laws of the country. The centers are staffed by volunteers, but this does not mean that the service is not professional. In order to ensure the quality of advice, volunteers have to be carefully selected and trained, and their work has to be both checked and supported to maintain high standards. Each center has a manager and a team of paralegals that work in rota to provide a service for clients. The paralegals are volunteers and are supported by the center manager. Volunteers get their expenses paid but are not salaried. There is an application procedure and each one is interviewed before being admitted to the training. The project has trained a team of trainers who provide training courses for the paralegals. These trainers are themselves lawyers but use participative training materials that have been specially prepared for the project. Some training takes place after the training courses has finished, when the paralegals learn about how to interview clients and how to make case records. One of the things that paralegals also learn about is the principles of the service.
Maprinciple athu alipo 5. Principle yoyamba ndi yaulere, kutanthauza kuti munthu akabwera ku center sakuyenera kupereka china chilichonse. Ndi yaulere chifukwa choti anthu ambiri ndi osauka ndi amenenso amakhala asogula anthu oponderezedwa chifukwa choti alibe china chilichonse. Ndiyeno center athu ino imapereka uphungu kapena chithandizo mwaulere mupanda kupereka ndalama iliyonse. Kachiwiri ndi achinsinsi ofesi. Timachita zonse mwachinsisi, ndipo client akabwera timamusimikizira kuti chilichonse chimene anene chikhala chachinsisi samva paliponse pokhapokha mwini wake avomereze kuti mungathe kuwauza anthu ena, koma zimakhala zachinsisi zimene tikambirane. Kachitatu, principle yachitatu ndiyoti yosakondera mbali. Sitimayang'ana kuti kamene ndi wabwera ipopeza ndi wamkazi nzathu ndiye timukondere, kapena iye ipopeza ndi wamamuna ndiye timudane naye tichite mumuphinja. Zonse zimakhala zosang'anira mbali, kapena ndi wamtundu wanji. Monga ngati kunoko mwina tiyerekeze kuti kuli achiyawo kapena mitundu ina, sitimayang'anira zimenezo, timayang'ana vuto la munthu iyeyo mmene alili. Ndi ofesi yathu ino simakondera mbali ina iliyonse. Komanso principle yotsatira ndiyoti ndiozimirira pa yokha, ndiyoti ntchito zimene timagwira pano sitimalowerana ndi boma, ndiyoyima pa yokha ndithu, sitiphatikizana ndi zochitachita za boma. Isi independent ndiyoyima pa yokha ndithu. Yosiriza ndiyoti yodziwisa, komanso kuwapasa mphamvu anthu amene akufika ku center kuti akhale ndi mphamvu ndithu yotha kuziteteza okha, makamaka pa maufulu awo amene anthu ena angafune kuwapondereza.
Accurate, up-to-date and accessible legal information is absolutely crucial to the success of any project that aims to use trained paralegals as advisors. The information given to clients must be clear, concise, relevant to their own situation, and above all, correct. Special manuals have been developed for the project to ensure that the information given to clients is correct. A case record is made for each client. This includes information which helps the project to know whether it is meeting its target audience. But most importantly, the case record contains the details of the client's case and the key points of advice given by the paralegal. This allows the center manager to check that the advice given is correct.
When a client comes to the center, we actually welcome the client and we try to create a rapport, at least a conducive environment for the client to be free so that she can say whatever she has come to say. And we also assure the client of confidentiality. We try to assure him or her that whatever will be discussed in the office or in our room will remain confidential unless the client decides in his or her own that we can disclose that information to somebody, but otherwise the information remains confidential. And then we let the client to narrate her story, her complaint, and after that, in the process of narration, wherever we feel that there are questions that we can ask in the process of her narrating her story, we ask questions for clarifications. And then when she has finished, we try to look for relevant information, information that is relevant to her case. And then if there's need for consultation so that we can give proper information to the client, we try to seek that information in consultation with our manager here. So after that, we give her the options that we have seen proper in the course of handling her case. We give him or her the options for him to choose. We don't decide on the option. The client has got that freedom to choose the option that she or he feels appropriate.
Since January 2011, when the centers opened, the numbers of people using the service has risen dramatically, showing that there is real demand for the service. On average, between the urban centers and the rural outreach services, the project is handling an average of 235 cases per month. The project's aim is to help the most vulnerable. These are women, people with disabilities, people living with HIV and AIDS, the elderly, and the young. Although services are available to everyone, various methods have been devised to target the most vulnerable. These include recruiting people from the target groups as paralegals, and also including people from organizations that represent the various target groups in local advisory committees.
Metimagirira ntchito kwathu umakhala kuti titamaliza maphunziro athu uno titabwera kumudzi tinakathakamira ndi anzathu amashehe komanso mafumu atipasako mpata kuti tiyeni mukambenso muzikiti zokhuzana ndi za upalalegwa wanu kuti muzithandiza bwanji anthu. Kuchokera nthawi imeneyo kuzafika pano muthandiza ndazikamo anzathuwo zikumayenda mosavuta, akumamvetsetsa ukalongosa chimozimozi kuti limene abweretsa kwa iwe ngati paralegal.
I'm HIV positive, and in addition for that, I'm a disabled person, and this really assists me in performing my duties as a paralegal. Because being a paralegal, we do assist different type of people, mainly the vulnerables. If you talk of vulnerables, we are talking of the HIV positive, HIV positive people, and the people living with a disability. Now, what I do is I do really encourage those people which HIV positive to claim their entitlements, because they are also regarded as people as pertaining to the laws of Malawi. They are people also, they have good access to claim their justice. So if they come to the center, I do tell them that being an HIV positive is not a death trap. You can claim your rights. You are a person, and being a disabled also, you can claim your rights. There is no any other way that somebody can violate your rights, saying that because I'm taking advantage that you are an HIV positive or you are disabled, so you got no rights.
The chart shows that the type of issues dealt with are those that materially affect people's well-being. In the rural areas, land is most important, whereas in Dedza and Mangochi, there are more cases of employment and labor. However, in both urban and rural areas, family matters are very important. Marriage and divorce, maintenance for children, problems about inheritance, and illegal property grabbing, issues of child labor, and the emerging problem of human trafficking.
Typical cases that we receive in the centers are issues of domestic violence. In domestic violence, we're talking about issues of matrimonial or extramarital affairs, and also issues of child maintenance of children born outside wedlock, or maintenance of children whose marriage was broken or from broken marriages, and also issues of contracts and employment. Issues of employment includes issues of unfair dismissals and also breach of contracts, and also we receive most cases on issues to do with criminal, where we give advice to people what they should do to get a redress. And there are several others that we receive, as long as one sees that his or human rights have been violated, they can report here.
The main issues that are reported to our center are marriage issues. Marriage and divorce, it's a major issue in Mangochi. Also, issues to do with the land, they are common. Within the Mangochi town, most of the issues are to do with employment. So those are the major issues that are reported to our center.
The paralegals go beyond just giving advice and information. The centers work closely with local agencies such as the victim support units, the labor offices, and the local courts.
The local officials, for example, the DC or the DC's office, feels we are there to fill the gap which existed where there was a requirement for somebody or an organization, a local NGO, to reach out to the people in the rural areas and help them realize or resolve problems that they meet in their everyday lives as regards to the law. The police, they feel that we complement their work. We are there as the partners, so we work together with the police, especially the victim support unit. We complement their work.
The project has to ensure that the community knows about the centers and their services. Various communication tools are being developed, and these include posters, leaflets, and radio programs. People who have been helped by the centers have also largely contributed to raising awareness of the centers via word of mouth. The project also advocates for change. The Malawi Law Commission, that is responsible for making recommendations on legal change, has recently written to the project to say how useful they found the briefing sheets.
These briefing sheets summarizes what the law says and also highlight experiences by our clients, the problems that they face when they want to use the laws. And basically, it's about highlighting the gaps in the existing laws and also making recommendations on the implementation of the laws or its improvement.
To date, the topics covered have included suggestions for land reform, improved implementation of the law on domestic violence, employment issues, problems in the determination of child maintenance, issues around marriage and divorce, and recommendations for a law on human trafficking.
The Rights Advice Center ensures that its work it's realized by engaging in advocacy. We conduct advocacy in our communities by engaging the local people that are targeted in our project. We have what we call the local advisory committees. These are the committees that are comprised of local chiefs, the village headmen, the group village headmen, and the TA. Also, some civil servants are also members in these local advisory committees. These are the people who give us the issues that are happening within their communities. So we discuss the issues and we tell them, or we deal with the issues by telling them what the law is saying about those particular issues.
In Malawi, traditional leaders are not only the custodians of culture, but also justice. Chiefs have welcomed the project and become an integral part of it. They come to the centers to seek advice about the law. This helps them settle disputes in their communities. It is very important that local ownership is established.
Komiti imene imaona kapena kuti imene imafaliza malamulo kwauza anthu kuti malamulo amati chani. Komiti imene kwambiri anthu akumuzi kwenikweni ineyo ngati mfumu timayang'anira mafumunso ndiye kuti anthu akumuziko komiti imene ndi imene kuli ndiye fioti kuti kuli umeneko amene amayang'anira komiti imene kwambiri ndi ineyo asine chief chimwalo mafumu anga tangosankhidwa ndinachitisa meeting iwauza kuti malamulo amati chani foti muziwe munthu wakumuzi osati wonse ndi amene amakhala kuti amakhala ngati akufuna kupinjika chifukwa kuti ambiri samaka kuti sakuzindika malamulo chifukwa chakuti samazindikira. Ineyo ndimatandauzira mafumu pamodzinso ndi anthu kuti azikhala omasuka ngati dziko lino la Malawi ndi lawo.
Since the start of the project in January 2011, the Rights Advice Centers have proven to be very useful to the communities they serve. However, the project is time and geographically limited and can therefore only contribute ideas towards establishing a cost-effective and efficient way of delivering legal services. The funding generously provided by the Scottish Government has helped to pilot the methodology that, if scaled up and applied more widely, could establish legal services for many more in Malawi. Ultimately, the government has the obligation to ensure access to justice and the means by which citizens can claim their rights. This does not mean that the government itself has to be the provider, as the Legal Aid Act acknowledges. It is possible to envisage a network of legal services providers drawing from a number of different organizations. However, in order to ensure consistency and quality of service, there needs to be an agreed criteria about the principles under which the service operates and the standards of service to be delivered. And likewise, there needs to be an agreement about geographical coverage and the focus on specific client groups.
I like my job as a center manager, first because it's a challenging job. It gives me a chance to work with different people. I've got a team of about 50 paralegals who report to me. We are all over Mangochi. You know Mangochi, it's very big, it's huge. So it gives me a chance to move around the communities, to work with local chiefs. So I like my job because it gives me that chance and opportunity.
Chitanga imandisangalasa kwambiri kukhala paralegal chifukwa poyamba ine mwini ndimadziwa kuziteteza komanso sindimalola kuti anthu ena aphwanye ufulu wanga komanso kuonjezera apopo ndimathanso kuwathandiza ena kuti aziwe maufulu awo komanso pamene maufulu awo aponderezedwa ndimatha kuwaunikira kuti adziwe komanso aone kulowera pamene maufulu awo aphwanyidwa.
It helped me a lot to be a paralegal in my life because for the time being I was aspiring to be a lawyer. I know how to use the penal code, how to apply laws pertaining to Malawi law through constitution, and how to differentiate cases. That this is a criminal case and this is a civil case.
Ikhale limodzi osati angokhala iwowoso ifeso timafuna kuti akamaweruza iwowoso tiyene kuti tiziphunziranso kaweruzidwe kena kake kamilandu.